Hello, I'm Julia, and I just returned from Knit City Montreal, and I feel like I have so much to share about it. So I thought, instead of trying to cram it into a bunch of Instagram posts or some other form of social media, I'd finally try this face-to-face YouTube situation, which I've never done before. I don't particularly love putting my face out there, but I do like watching people, watching people's faces and mouths talk about knitting. So maybe you'll like this too. So Knit City Montreal 2023. This is the first knitting event, knitting convention, what have you, that I've been to post-COVID. So it's kind of a big deal. I've been cooped up in this room for a couple of years. I'm self-employed, so, I don't have a lot of opportunity to just get out there and talk to other people that are big fiber nerds like myself. So if you've never been to a fiber festival, a yarn festival, convention, whatever you want to call it, event, I highly, highly recommend it, because it's just so good to be surrounded by people that are the same brand of nerd that you are. So I attended this event myself, by myself, which I guess is something I haven't done before. I've been to Rhinebeck, I've been to Vogue Knitting Live, and I've always done that in a group. So this is the first time I've been out on my own doing this. And it was great. I mean, because I took classes, I was busy. I mean, I really wouldn't have had a lot of time to hang with friends anyway. So I enjoyed doing it by myself. And it forced me to be a little more outgoing and talk to people, which is really easy to do at an event like this. So I'm based in Toronto. Knit City, this particular event was in Montreal. They also have one in Vancouver. If you're not familiar, hopefully they will expand. That would be great. So the next one is coming up in Vancouver in the fall. This was hosted at the Sheraton in downtown Montreal. I took the train there, which if you're on the train route, I highly recommend, because the Via Rail station is very close to all of the hotels. It's just like super convenient. You can work if you need to on the train, and of course you can knit on the train, which I did. And it was a great venue. It's sort of what I would call like a businessman hotel. That's what I call them. Where, it doesn't have the distinguishing features of a boutique hotel, but it's, kind of upscale and very clean and nice, and they have big conference rooms and all the amenities you need, and centrally located. I did not stay there because I was lucky enough to have a friend who let me stay at their house while they were away, so I had a whole place to myself, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, it wasn't close to the venue, but I mean, the money I saved in accommodations I could spend on yarn, so that was pretty great. I took workshops. I've never done this at another event because I was there for other purposes. I didn't have time, and I was really excited about the workshops that were offered at Knit City. I feel like some of the other events have a lot of classes on offer, which is great. Knit City had fewer classes, but I feel like they were really, really well curated with some really great designers. I've been knitting and crocheting for a long time, so I want something that's really challenging and a little bit different. And I think there was a great mix of more introductory techniques and more advanced things. So it was just like really well put together. Yeah, so I'll tell you about my classes. Friday, the marketplace was not open. It was just workshops. So I signed up for 3D knitwear with Oga Buraya-Kefelian. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. But you probably know her better as olgajazzy. That's her brand name. If you're not familiar with Olga, she's been designing for a long time. She is incredibly innovative. Her stuff is really unique. It stands out. She is really focused on texture, three-dimensional texture and negative space. And there's something really kind of futuristic, modern, clean about her design. And you always kind of know it's her when you see one of her designs. So I've been a fan of hers for a long time, and I was really thrilled to be able to meet her in person and also learn from her. She's a fantastic teacher. You can tell she's had a lot of experience and really knows how to break things down and present things and talk to people, and that was great. I took 2 classes with her. The first class was 3-dimensional knitwear, which began with sort of a lecture, slideshow, demo, which was really great. Like, I felt like she was giving away her secrets. Like, oh God, don't tell people to stop. It was like Siegfried and Roy giving away the secrets to their magic tricks. I mean, she talked about best yarns to use to get great texture and retain that texture, different techniques to get really like texture that pops, and different ways to create 3-dimensional knitting. And then we tried out some of her stitch patterns that she's developed for some of her designs. And so I made this kooky swatch. Isn't it crazy? Some people were calling these like bugles, like the snacks, you know. This has been blocked, but it's still kind of wonky. I mean, I was knitting this. I started it in the workshop, and then I finished it. I worked on it in my next class. Sorry, Bristol Ivy, if I really was paying attention while knitting and listening to you. And then I finished it at the variety show the next night. So basically, like, if this looks intimidating, it's actually quite simple and easy to memorize. So I was able to, you know, knit this while talking and listening to other people. So this is a really fun stitch pattern that is featured in Olga's Ginga Cowl. So if you want to give this a try, check out her Ginga Cowl. She also has a new cowl whose name I don't remember, but I will link it, that uses this same technique. She's used it a few times, this cool texture. So it was really fun to try that out. So that was Friday morning. Friday afternoon, I took a class with Bristol Ivy, like I just said, called Knitting Outside the Box. And she has a book, I believe, of the same title, maybe 2, another one coming out. And I took this because, I mean, I wasn't entirely sure what the class would entail, but it did mention something about, you know, creative exploration. And it ended up being a really great afternoon. Bristol is, I've never met her before. She's my kind of weirdo. Like, I hope she will take that. I think I could say that to her face and she would appreciate it. You know, she's a bit of a goofball and a very lovable goofball, and those are my favorite people. And so she was very informative and, you know, really got the group to participate and have fun. We did sort of creative brainstorming exercises at the beginning, and it was really nice for me because I tend to, if I'm sketching or swatching and trying out ideas for knit and crochet designs, I'm usually really goal oriented. I'm doing it because I have to design something. I'm working on a design proposal or something of that sort. So exploring creative ideas just for the sake of exploring creative ideas is something that I don't take the time to do, and I should. And so it was really nice to do that in the class and, you know, see what other people came up with the same prompts, and they were all very different, and that was really cool. And then another instance of like, you're giving away your secrets. The second half of the class, Bristol talked about different ways of achieving unusual shapes, I guess, in knitting. And yeah, that was like, I guess I understood, I already knew some of the techniques, but the way she broke it down very simply was like, oh, this is like a cheat sheet to like designing a shawl. So if you're interested in designing or just sort of modifying patterns, I highly recommend the class. And of course, go buy her book, follow her, buy all the things. So 2 wonderful classes, great way to spend a day. The marketplace was not open that day, so it was just learn. Oh, and what I wore, you know, at these events, everybody wears their knitwear and shows it off, and everybody's talking about everybody else's garments. It's a little tricky, like end of May in Montreal is warm. It was warm. It was beautiful weather. So wearing a big heavy knit sweater is, you'd be hot. I chose to wear this beret. This is my sound check beret, which I will link. So that was actually, like, from a marketing perspective for myself, was kind of a great idea, because I sat in the front of classes and everybody had to stare at the back of my hat. I also wore this crochet shawl, which I designed for Yarnier, which was in a kit last year. It takes 1 skein of DK. This is Montoya Merino Light by Vicky Hell. Really quick, simple shawl. So I wore, this was my Friday look. Some accessories, and of course I lost the scarf after a while because it was just too hot. That was my Friday. There was a knit night, like a Stitch and Bitch event at the hotel that evening, which I would have attended, but I was lucky enough to have a friend who wanted to go see Feist, who was in town that night, and she kindly bought me a ticket. So, hey, I went and saw Feist. It was great. Saturday. So Saturday was the big day where the marketplace opened, and like, oh no. I haven't been like really yarn shopping in quite some time, and you know, I love a marketplace like this is very different than shopping in a yarn store, because again, it's curated, and you have that souvenir yarn pressure, right? Like, I like when I travel and I'm at a yarn store or at an event, you know, I want to get something unique that I can't get elsewhere. And there's a lot of like limited edition stuff that happens at these events. You know, you're talking about a lot of indie dyers and small businesses, so it's not unlimited quantities of things. So Saturday, my schedule was I had time to do the marketplace in the morning, and then I had another class in the afternoon, another class with Olga, which I'll talk about. Maybe I'll do the class first and then go through all my acquisitions. So I took another class with Olga. I don't think she'd ever been to Canada before. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn all I could from her while she was in my native land. So this one was knitting with negative space, I believe is what it was. Modular knitting with negative space. So I made this. We all made this. Doesn't look that special, but let me tell you, this is knit in one piece without breaking the yarn. Think about that for a moment. Think about that for a moment. This is the technique Olga uses in her 10-10 wrap, which I think is Japanese for dots, inspired by Yayoi Kusama, the Japanese artist who's just so inspiring. So her polka dot shawl, it's like a big rectangular wrap with different sizes of these big holes, and there's only 2 ends to weave in at the end because she's developed this technique where you don't have to break the yarn, and it's like, again, really simple, but just so innovative and smart. You know, it's one of the reasons why I really like Olga's designs, is because she comes up with these techniques, but I think she also is a very considerate designer, where it also has to be fun and easy. Like if something is too complex and requires too much concentration, no matter what the results are, you're probably not going to want to knit it, right? So yeah, good for you, Olga, for figuring out these techniques that yield great results and are fun. So yeah, we did this. She showed us different ways of knitting in a modular style like this, playing with negative space. It was fun, and somewhere on her socials maybe she has a picture of all of us doing this, because it's fun. Okay, so that's it for my workshops. Now the marketplace. One little note about the marketplace: super well curated, lots of local stuff. There are water stations everywhere. Oh my god, like such a simple thing, but so wonderful, like such a nice little touch. Because I don't know if you've ever been at some kind of festival or event where you're dying of thirst, and you know, you're surrounded by wool, it's absorbing all the moisture in the air, you're probably wearing a sweater that's like making you too hot, you're talking to all kinds of people, like you need water, and there's nothing more frustrating than having to like leave the fun and then go line up somewhere for half an hour to buy like a $7 bottle of water. So that was not the case here. They just kept refreshing these tables, and they were like nice glasses, like real glasses, you know, not like paper cups or styrofoam, those pointy Dixie cups that you can't sit down, like real glasses. Like it was just like such a nice detail. I really appreciate it. So kudos to the organizers of Knit City, and I guess the people at the Sheraton Hotel that were able to coordinate that. So really nice. You could stay hydrated for free while spending all the rest of your money on yarn. So I walked into the marketplace with a little bit of a plan. I wanted to get some yarn for a vest idea that I've been kicking around. And I knew I didn't want any more superwash fingering yarn, which is everywhere. You know, it's popular. People love superwash fingering yarn for socks and shawls, which are super popular, and like I get it, but I've got enough of that in my stash, so I was looking for something a little different. So I'll show you what I got. My first purchase goes against everything that I said about like souvenir yarn, supporting local dyers, what have you. The first thing I bought was this. So this is Rico Designs Make It Tweed. I bought 2 of these because I had seen this on the interwebs. It's pretty cool. It's just like a very, I can't get the thread here. It's a very fine thread with these little, you can't see that, naps. I'll put a picture somewhere. This isn't working. You get the idea. It's a very fine thread with these little naps on it, and then you knit this together with whatever yarn you want, and you essentially make that yarn tweed, hence make it tweed. So I saw this somewhere on Instagram or something, and my local yarn store didn't have it. Of course, as soon as I got back from Knit City Montreal, I got an email from my local yarn store saying like, new in stock, make it tweed. But anyway, I bought it because it was something I was interested in. They didn't have a lot of them, and I bought it from, who did I buy this from? I made some notes because I knew I would forget. I think Boutique Twistich, which is a yarn store in Laval, Quebec. So, you know, even though I didn't buy something Canadian or hand-dyed, it was something I wanted, and I bought it from a local yarn store. So, what am I going to do with that? I'm not sure. I think I have enough to do a sweater. I thought it might be fun to hold this together and then drop it and make stripes that are tweed and not tweed for a subtle thing. I don't know, I'll play around with it. So I was excited about that. The marketplace was pretty overwhelming. It was very busy. So much beautiful color, so much, there was a lot of fluffy yarn. I'm kind of surprised I didn't come home with anything brushed. Lots of yak. I guess yak's the new thing. And brushed Surrey alpaca seems to be maybe overtaking mohair. But lots of fluffy yarns, which I didn't buy. That said, the one thing that was probably the most unlike me to purchase is I was walking by this booth and I saw this hand-dyed yarn, or hand-spun yarn, and I just stopped and I couldn't stop looking at it, because I'm always surprised when people sell hand-dyed or hand-spun yarn, because like dyeing yarn is time consuming when you do it by hand, but you know, you can scale up, you can do it more efficiently. Hand spinning, I mean, it's so time consuming, and I can't imagine making a profit from selling hand-dyed yarn or hand-spun yarn. Why do I keep saying that? Hand-spun yarn. So this is from Green Sheep Yarns. I think she just had, I don't remember the woman's name. I will link it. I think she was sharing a space with Julia Selene Yarns, which is a beautiful yarn as well. But yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh wow, I gotta support somebody who's hand spinning. And I saw this one. This is like, it's wool, hand spun, dyed, recycled fibers. Also contains merino and various wool fibers. So it's kind of it's very soft. There's a lot of stuff in here, like just bits and bobs, and it's a little bit sparkly, and it's got a lot of colors. And when I saw this one, I just thought of my youngest daughter, and I thought it'd be really fun to do like on big needles, just like a little neck warmer thing for the winter. And I thought she would like it because it's like kind of cotton candy-esque and sparkly. So then if I was going to buy that, well, I have two daughters, so then I have to buy another one and make something for my other daughters. So I got this one. So my oldest daughter is 10, so I think this is a little more sophisticated. So from a distance, it's kind of this weird sea urchin-y looking color, but like there's so much cool stuff going on there. The magenta and the teal. So I might mix it with teal or some other yarn to make it go further, because I mean, this is only 11 meters. We'll see. But yeah, I'm kind of gonna save this for the fall when I just want like a quick project that's satisfying. yeah. So hand spun, that was not on my list. And neither was this. I was saying like, oh, I'm so tired of superwash merino. And then like, what did I buy? A sock set of superwash merino. But this yarn is so super cool. I really wanted to wind this up immediately. But I will do that probably right after this video. I wanted to show you how it looks in this set. So it's a sock set with your 2 solids and these 2 hand-dyed skeins. But this is from Gingersnapthat and Gingersnapthat yarns. They're a husband and wife team. I'm not sure where they're based. This yarn is a speckle fade on its own. So no changing yarns, no skein set. It just fades from one color to the next. And it's also speckly. Like, I don't know how they do it. It's, you know, I was talking to a nice gentleman who was working there. I don't know if he is Mr. Snapthat, perhaps. And we were talking about like how it's a process that has multiple steps. So, you know, this was pricey. This was, I think it was like $60, like a lot. Canadian dollars, mind you, so it's a lot less in American dollars. But again, I wanted to support the small business, and this is super unique yarn. So my initial thought was I'd just make myself some socks, which I never do. Yet, especially in the winter, like my feet are always freezing, and I can't sleep unless my feet are warm. So I tend to put on wool socks when I go to bed, and then I kick them off at some point during the night. I'm sure my husband loves finding socks in the sheets all the time. But you know, the ones I've been wearing are not the nicest, and I thought I deserve some beautiful socks to wear to bed. So that was my plan. But of course, now that I have this, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll design a shawl with this specific yarn. I don't know. I should just knit some socks and then maybe in the future get some more of this yarn and design a shawl. But anyway, I will link to this, and maybe I'll even put a picture somewhere, edit a picture in of what this yarn does, because it's like, it's super cool. And then I mentioned earlier that I really wanted to get some yarn for a vest idea I have that I want to design, and I wanted it to be worsted or heavier and not superwash. And it's like a 3-4 color idea. It was kind of hard to find yarn that was worsted or heavier. I mean, it is springtime, but you know, everybody's knitting fine gauge stuff. So, you know, I wandered around. I was so overwhelmed. Like, I would say almost every booth had something I would have liked to have purchased. I mean, there was really great stuff. But looking for solid, semi-solid shades, worsted weight or heavier was a little more difficult. And I was walking around, anytime I saw anything that like might have fit the bill, I'd snap a picture. And then I found something that I liked. I was going to do like my second lap and pull the trigger, and I couldn't find this place. I had this picture on my phone, and I was looking in the background, and I'm like, it looks like natural light in the background, so I think they must be by the window. And like, I couldn't find it again. But maybe it was meant to be, because then I ended up finding this little box of Feisty Fibres, and it is Canadian worsted, Canadian yarn, wool. I don't know what fiber it is because it just says Canadian wool. It's definitely not superwash, and it's not rustic. It's not as soft as merino. It's somewhere like in between. So I would say this is soft enough to wear next to your skin, unless you're super sensitive. I'm a pretty delicate flower. Like, I don't like rustic stuff against my bare skin, makes me itchy. So I would wear this next to my skin. Funny thing is, I believe this dyer is based in Toronto, where I live, and I had to go to Montreal to buy it. So there you go. I love the label. I love the name. I love that if I put my glasses on, I can match my yarn. And I think what really sold me was the colors. And then I looked at the color name like Pank. This is Pank. Fantastic. So these are the colors that I got that I'm going to put together. This kind of dusty rose color will be like the main color, and I've got some stuff going on with the Pank, where the Aw Shucks is the dusty rosy color, and Toast is the ochre color, and Luscious is this. It looks black, but like it's one of those rich shades that's it's almost like a dark brown, dark purple, like, you know, it's got undertones. It's complex. Yeah, so who knows when I'll get to that design, but at least, you know, I'm prepared now. And that's about it, I think. I've told you all of my adventures. It was so nice to see people I only see on the internet in real life walking around. It was nice to meet some new people, chat with people in the classes. Overall, like, I really think that this is a worthwhile event. Especially if you're taking classes, it's worth it to travel and go to a Knit City event. I'm assuming the Vancouver one is just as good. If not better, who knows? But I think it was really well organized, really well curated. I had a lot of fun, and I'm definitely going to go again sometime once my credit card is paid off. So that's it. I'll link to everything that I talked about down below. If you want to know more about me, I'm at juliamadil.com, and happy knitting.